How's it going, everybody, on this nice full day? Today is November 4th, 2022, and it's still pretty warm out. I gotta say, this fall was a little weird. It was cold, then it got warm again. But we are on the way to Bear Mountain State Park. Now, to get to Bear Mountain State Park, we actually took Palisades Parkway. One of the things I personally really enjoy about taking this Palisades Parkway, and besides those beautiful views you get to see around this time of year, that's why, and it makes the drive so much more enjoyable. There are a couple of nice overlooks on the way when you, especially if you go into like Bear Mountain region, and because of the high elevation, you get to see those nice views of Hudson River and surrounding areas. You get to see some nice fall colors, and you get some wildlife like this. I don't think it's an eagle. It looks like a hawk, but I could be wrong. If any of you know, please comment below. I'm by no means an expert here, but and that makes this drive a little more enjoyable. You stop and you just enjoy the scenery for a little bit, and you just keep going. But let me go back to the Bear Mountain State Park. So Bear Mountain State Park is about 50 miles north of New York City, which, depending on the traffic, could be about an hour and a half drive. Not too far at all for us. We live in Long Island, so according to the GPS, it was about an hour and I think 45 minutes. In reality, it was about 2.5 hours because we did hit some traffic on the way. And we did stop by, of course, on the overlooks just to relax a little bit and enjoy the nature. But it's not that far, and it's definitely worth the drive. There's so many things to enjoy there, but I would say my most favorite is the mountaintop. The views are so breathtaking, and it's just being there, the atmosphere. It's just it's hard to explain the feeling you kind of feel when you go all the way to the top, but it's something you need to experience for yourself, honestly. There are two ways to get to the top. One is a hiking trail you can take, but it is known to be one of the challenging ones. And the other way you can, like we did today, just drive up. I also seen people biking up the road, but I can only imagine how challenging that is. But there are quite a lot of people that were doing that, so I'm guessing, with the right amount of training, you can do it. As soon as you get up to the top here, you are greeted with this beautiful, breathtaking views of surrounding areas, and again, especially around this time of year, you got the fall colors too. So it kind of adds on to the whole picture here, and you could see pretty far. You can see pretty far out. Main parking area of the mountaintop includes this Perkins Tower, which once you go up the stairs, it even gives you a better overlook of the surrounding areas, which I think it was a clever idea that they built this year. This tower and surrounding drives are dedicated to George Walbridge Perkins. He was the first president of Palisades Interstate Park Organization. It does take quite a few flights of stairs to get up all the way to the top of the tower, but you do have a lot of historic facts on the walls as you're walking up, so it's not a boring climb. It makes it a little more interesting, and once we go up more, there's a couple of viewing areas still on the way up, so you can stop and just enjoy the views and then go up again. But I think the climb up here into this tower is definitely worth it because you get to see a lot more and totally different perspective. Oh, it's kind of interesting. I guess he put a rock onto his tire so the car doesn't roll. Huh. It is a pretty steep incline there. Going back to the views from this tower are just remarkable. I think you can't really show that with the camera. It's something you have to experience for yourself, just being on top of the mountain and seeing all those things in person. I think that pretty much beats any video, anything that video can really show. And there's some more historic and natural things about nature on the top of the tower too. And I like how they make those tiles here because that kind of tells you a history of like what happened. And so like if you can't really see the text underneath probably, but there's a little text there that kind of tells you the historic facts. If you're a history buff like me, you'll definitely enjoy this. just to kind of know, like, give you a little more perspective. One of the things we didn't realize first time we came up here, there are two more outlooks in on the mountaintop, because we just went to the main one. We were a little short on time, but there are two other outlooks you can actually drive to if you be right at the fork instead of going straight down. And they have some stunning views as well. Like this one, you can actually see that bridge that goes right from Bear Mountain to the other side. And in the second, remember I was saying about the historic the history on all those tiles here, and you could tell this actually shows you, how the bridge was constructed. And if you, we're not going to zoom in at this point, but if you look down, there's some more, little more, there's another paragraph that kind of tells you a little more of historic perspective on it. But the views are, I actually enjoy those views more than the main area, even though the main area is spectacular. But here you get to see different sides of, the region here. And there's a little island here right straight ahead of us. I'm not sure what it is. I'll have to look it up. If you guys know, please comment below. But it's pretty interesting. It's right there, and there's another bridge going there. Okay, we're back from the mountaintop, and it looks like there's a lot more attractions down here. So there's the whole other side of the park to discover besides the mountaintop. Like I was saying in the beginning of the video, this park is a home to 35 miles of hiking trails. For what I hear, they're a little more on the challenging side, but that's something to try. Right at the beginning of the park, there's a merry-go-round. So you'll see this building right ahead of us. There's also an ice skating rink, which was closed because of the warm weather, but I'm sure it's a lot of fun in the winter with a little more snow and a little colder out. And right ahead of us, this is the historic Bear Mountain Inn, which has been built in 1915 and serves as an inn. I think they'll close it for a period of time, but now it's open and it offers a restaurant, lounge, and a place to stay. So that could be a good place to end your hike and just relax for a night, stay for a night and relax. Now, right behind the inn is actually the Hessian Lake, which offers rowboating and I'm sure fishing as well, and a lot of other activities here. It's a good sized lake, and I bet you got some nice views from the Bear Mountain Inn of the lake and the mountain itself. This interesting structure is actually a picnic area, but if we look closer at this rock, we will see that the very first attack by the British when they attacked the Fort Montgomery and Fort Clinton was right in this point right here. I think a lot of people don't realize how much history, how much War for Independence history actually happened here. And there is so in this, we're gonna go into right across the street into to a museum and a zoo area. And if I remember correctly, there are some, like, I think there's a page from Declaration of Independence there, and a couple other artifacts from the War for Independence. So we're gonna see that in a second. And if we look to the right, we're going to see this interesting building that looks like a fortress, but it's actually a pool house. There's an Olympic-sized pool on the property. And we made it right across the road, and we are at Trailside Museum and Zoo right now. And which the zoo is actually home to 200 animals from all over the world. But one thing you gotta ask, why is there a statue of Walt Whitman here, the famous poet? And for what I researched online, it was given as a donation, as a gift by Harriman family. And I think that's why they placed the statue. They put the statue here. And it's actually, if you look at the sign, it tells you right there. But going back to the zoo, so the zoo is actually home to 200 animals, and it ranges anywhere from black bears, mountain lions, and bison, and a lot more. Unfortunately, and there are some nice terrariums here too if you like reptiles. Unfortunately, by the time we got here, it was a little late, so they were closing. We couldn't make it to all of the buildings, but we did see quite a lot because we were trying to see the museum as well, not just the zoo. It's all in this one trail, and all those buildings are kind of along the trail. One thing I would suggest trying to get here earlier, this way you have ample amount of time to actually to visit every spot here. But even in the short amount of time we had, we were able to see a lot of things here. As small as those buildings are, there's a good amount of wildlife you can actually see here. I know about you guys, I almost didn't see that frog, kind of blended in with the tree there. Then I started moving, I saw it. It's amazing how those creatures can blend in so easily. And they also have some nice aquarium of different types of fish you can just enjoy here. And he's a black bear, but unfortunately by the time we got to his area, it was already past his bad time, so they locked him in. But I'm sure, you know, once he's out, they probably utilize all this play area around here. I don't know if there's one bear or two. It's one thing I can't remember. Obviously years ago last time. And here's the beaver. Here's the beaver. I didn't realize there's a guy behind there actually feeding him, I guess, or giving him food. I think they're probably getting ready to go to bed too. But I was amazed by those creatures. They're such a good swimmers, and they can build so many things. Wow, who is that? If I'm correct, that looks like a porcupine, but you guys may have to comment below and let me know if I'm right. Because wow, I don't think I ever seen one up and close like that. Maybe on the pictures or encyclopedia. And there's some nice little pond here of the swans and ducks. And here's some little museum buildings. There's a lot of interesting artifacts or like expeditions from War for Independence here, and I think it's pretty interesting to kind of see. And there's also things from pretty much everyday life from those centuries. And here's the Declaration of Independence, page from the Declaration of Independence. It's pretty cool that they have it here. There is a lot of interesting history in this small little building here. They talk a lot about the War for Independence and basically how the forts back then operated. This is actually a replica. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Fort Clinton that we're going to see the ruins off in a little bit. But judging by the shape, and that's what it look. I think that's it. And there's a bunch of other interesting things you can actually view here. This painting definitely looks like Bear Mountain. I could be wrong, but Hudson was in Bear Mountain. And here's some things from from I guess like a regular household back in those days. And this is a first steamboat.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry,
Wow,
we're closing
interesting.
up here.
We don't have time to look through more things here because they are closing up, so we have to kind of go through things, go through the expedition very quickly. But again, it's something I would definitely need. We would definitely to come back to, and just we have a little more time. Also, Geology Museum, which at this point was closed, but I bet it had a lot of interesting expositions and artifacts we could enjoy. And I have to say, those buildings are very small, but have a lot of interesting like expositions and artifacts in them. And here's the Fort Clinton, the ruins of Fort Clinton, which we saw the picture of earlier. I'm going to show this picture again. Here it is. That's what it looked like in its glory. And one thing one should start researching about this, those this fort, let's say, for example, it kind of shows you how much of an important role it played during the War for Independence. And just being on those ruins, I don't know, I think it's just amazing just to kind of see this in person. At least for me, it was like a very remarkable experience. And again, I do enjoy history a little too much sometimes, and that could be it too. But I think it's it's important to see this in person. Okay, we're gonna head out to our next destination, which is the dock. And one thing we discovered, which you can't even see from the trail, it's hidden behind the rocks. So we actually climbed up some rocks to see it was the elk's head statue, which I'm not sure why they installed it here. Based on what I found online, it was installed in 1935. Maybe it was. It kind of overlooks the Hudson River, so it's probably for people passing by on the boats, maybe, or you can actually see from the bridge. I'm sure pretty well. But it's kind of interesting why they place it here, which it's still a mystery to me, honestly. And here's the cruise ship that takes you all the way from Manhattan to the dock here, and it kind of almost like really it does the same route that the original steamboat used to take all the way from Manhattan to this dock right here. So it does kind of like, like things change, times change, but I guess certain things that stay the same. The ship might be more modern, but it still does the same route that those old ships back in the day used to do. Yeah, and I think on this note, I'm gonna say thank you for watching. We're gonna head back. We're gonna get and till next time. Thanks again.